Kia ora everyone, it's Chris here from Bayleys Insights team, joined today by Willard Alexander from our residential property management business to have a chat about what's happening with residential investments. Will, how are you this morning?
Good, thanks, Chris. Yeah, good to be here and lots to talk about. Lots happening in the market.
100%. So it's been one of those markets that's changed quite a bit. So I figured we'd start off talk about the mood of investors at the moment. So we've had like a solid period of more than a year with changes around government policies for taxation and residential tenancies. What's the mood of residential property investors at the moment?
Yeah, I would say positive. At the end of the day, there's lots of commentary about the market at the moment and what it's not doing, but it's a good investment market. The prices are a little bit back. We see all the good investors at the moment. Now is the time. But there is definitely confidence. The interest rates have dropped below 5%, which is low, I would say. The interest deductibility now is fully back in as of the 1st of April, and changes to the tenancies like the 90-day no-clause notice, notice periods for owners moving back in have reduced back to 42 days. So there's mechanisms in place that across the board I think it's made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, so you've got not only those tax benefits, but the management benefits around dealing with your property. And you sort of see that come through our latest residential investment report, so shout out to that report, where we've seen an improvement in yields off the back of, I guess, rents generally being pretty decent and also values coming back. So your returns have come back, and of course, post-tax, even better with the interest deductibility. And so one of the things that we have seen coming through the market, though, at the coalface is a change around demand for rentals. So how are you sort of seeing things at the moment in that space?
Yes, the demand is definitely reduced in certain areas, and we were talking about this before we got on camera, but there's an oversupply in a certain sort of property at the moment, and that's not just Auckland, that's across the board. I was in Christchurch a few weeks ago, similar issues down there. And it's just, I think, a basic oversupply. It's a lot of townhouses, city fringe areas, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1 car park. Beautiful properties, really well built, nothing wrong there, but just a lot of them. So you've got a lot of that going on at the moment, and a lot of that being released to the market. So it's a saturation issue. And then you've got good properties in good suburbs and good school zones, all the way up to $3,000 per week, going within a week.
That's really interesting, right?
Massive contrast. And so Bayleys in Auckland, they specialise in quite high-end properties. Our average rent is well over $1,000 per week. There is no issue at the moment. And so it's two different areas, and I think it's a basic supply and demand.
Probably like an absorption type issue as well, right? Because you've had a lot of this development come through. Some of the developers are releasing product into the rental market just to kind of stabilise their position, and like you say, like it just takes time to catch up, and that feels like that's taken pressure off rents in those markets. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's very simple, lots of properties coming to the market, and there's a few things driving that. There's the migration, that's the developers releasing a lot of product, that's people that have tried to sell have decided to rent it for a while, people moving overseas instead of selling it, they're renting it. So there's a whole sort of bunch of stuff contributing to that, but the end result, I guess, is people have got options, tenants have got options, and like I said before, the beautiful properties, but if they can save $10 per week by going somewhere else, they will absolutely do that. So,
and renters are surprisingly price sensitive in that regard.
Very price sensitive, and you forget that. And I look back to when I first started renting, $5 a week made a big difference, and you forget that. But so there is the prices are definitely coming down at the moment.
And so I guess to navigate that, right, as an owner or a property manager out there, what are some of the things that you need to be thinking about to actually, keep properties tenanted, keep them rocking?
Well, look after your good tenants for sure. If you've got a good tenancy in place, look after them. If there's maintenance issues, just deal with it. Deal with it quickly. If a fixed term tenancy is coming up for renewal, this is not really the market where you're trying to knock it up again. So things like that, but really basic stuff, Chris. I mean, marketing images, people...
You see some terrible...
shockers. Absolute shockers. I mean, it's fair to say that properties have toilets now. You don't need to take a picture of it. Just an assumption that we can all make. But basic stuff like that, providing the property in good light, good descriptions. Owners should consider pets as well. A lot of big apartment buildings now are pet friendly. And
that makes a big difference, right? Because if you're a renter who does have a pet, if you've got options where you can easily facilitate that, that's straight away going to go to the top of your list, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And I mean, things are coming in hopefully this year with pet bonds, but there's mechanisms in place to protect the landlord already on that. So basic stuff, and even, you know, like I was saying before, turn up early to the property. If it's winter, turn on the heaters. Make sure that the lights are on and it's opened up, and
get their like first impression.
Absolutely. You know, if they're going through like 2-bedroom units constantly all day, what's going to make it stand out? So it's not rocket science. It's just basic stuff to make it feel warm and homely and appealing. Yeah,
I guess as well, with the shorter termination periods for tenants, right, 21 days.
That's right.
Does mean you need to get onto it straight away. So, you know, as soon as you get that notice, you basically have to be cranking into advertising, getting people through and getting it locked in, right?
Yep. It puts pressure on process, you know, and this is where the good professional agencies really make their worthwhile, because they establish intentions 90 to 21 days before the end of the tenancy. So they know well in advance. They're communicating with the tenants, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay? Great. If you're going to move, okay, when? End of the tenancy, and you're putting it to the market 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out. Good pictures, everything is done, you know, good technology, so easy for tenants, prospective tenants to apply, so to book a viewing.
Just making that really seamless, right? So it's not like a massive pain.
No pain. All streamlined, using good technology, all that sort of stuff. It just makes it easy. And responding quickly. And this is the thing where it often falls down, is it's kind of like the first offer you get on a property. You know, when you're selling it, people go, "Oh, that's a great offer. I'm just going to wait." How many times have you heard that story? You know, where that was the best offer. So again, same with renting properties. If someone's interested, get them the application. If they respond, process it. You know, do all your vetting, all your checks. Just do it quickly and be fast.
Because it's the vacancy that's going to be the killer, right? Like that's where the big problem's going to come in. Well, that's really helpful. Well, look, if you do want to learn a little bit more about what's happening in the market, definitely check out our latest residential investment report, which we'll link in the description. Otherwise, reach out to Will and the team at Bayleys Property Management. They'd be super happy to have a chat. So thanks very much, Will.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Sweet. See you later.